You're listening to Trek FM.
Hello and welcome to From There to Here, Trek FM's 50th Anniversary Rewatch of Star Trek, in which we look at all 729 episodes from beginning to end. Today, I'm your host for today, Lee Hutchison, and today I'm joined by Amy Nelson. How are you, Amy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Lee?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Today we've got two exciting episodes to look at. We've got Resolutions from Star Trek Voyager and The Quickening from Deep Space Nine. So let's dive into this episode of Star Trek Voyager, the penultimate episode of Season 2. Voyager is forced to abandon Captain Janeway and Chakotay when they become infected with an illness they've picked up from an alien planet. Tuvok must then lead the crew who are attempting to mutiny against him when they believe that they can find the cure from the Vidians. So Amy, what's your thoughts on Resolutions?
I love this episode because it shows Janeway's strength and determination completely throughout. This is where I fall in love with Captain Janeway.
That's some bold stuff. This, I know it's a popular episode with fans, so it's great that you've managed to come on to this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, Resolutions is it's a bit of a frustrating episode. I really enjoy the plot line with Janeway and Chakotay on the planet. I think it really raises some interesting things about their relationship, the type of people they are. The one aspect that I really struggle with this episode is the lack of help almost from Voyager, and that this almost seems like the first alternative was just to leave them on the planet. That we see in a coming episode's time that they're willing to go into the heart of the Kazon Nostrum to get a baby, risking life and death. But even with a contact within the Vidians, they seem very hesitant to even go remotely near the Vidians. It's a slightly frustrating thing that kind of, while the episode is good, I'm almost frustrated by what they have to do to create that drama in the first place.
Yes, it is forced. I will definitely give you that.
But at the same time, as you say, like, it's such an interesting insight into Janeway and the characters that you can almost overlook the fact that it generates such an exciting and interesting story between these two characters, and the conflict between command and captain, the line between friendship and authority is really interesting.
Yeah, like I said, when they're down on the planet and Chakotay's like, you got to know when to give up and live now. And, I really appreciate how Janeway just doesn't dismiss him, listens to his concerns and point of view. And she doesn't say never, she's just like, well, I will consider it, and doesn't insult Chakotay. How come you're not finding, and how come you're not helping and you're building a bathtub for me? That's not helping us, and so I really like that she doesn't dismiss Chakotay, but lets him do his own thing to be happy, and she's doing her own thing to be happy. That's a true leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I find quite interesting from the Chakotay side is that Chakotay left Starfleet, that he didn't anticipate ever ending up back in Starfleet, and it almost feels like this is his first opportunity to really be free of Starfleet, to do the things that he's passionate about, whether it's woodworking and working out in the the environment, really. And like, he embraces that so easily that it's easy for him almost to detach from that, because he's not like Janeway. He's not Starfleet bread and butter. He's left it. This isn't like Voyager is just something that happened to him, something that was an unexpected life experience.
Yes, I definitely can see that, and you can see he's definitely living in the present, and you definitely can see he's gonna give up the Starfleet way and go about with where he's at right now. I like that about seeing that in his character as well.
So as you were saying, this is like one of your all-time favorite episodes. Like, I'd love to hear more. Like, what is it about this episode that like you truly love? Like, what is there any little moments and beats? What is it that's so special?
Well, you know how Picard was always. It was fun to see him do his archaeology, and now we get to see Janeway just really science the crap out of it, and gathering the little insects and her relationship with the little primate, little monkey. And, we get to see so many dimensions of her personality that we don't get to see too much on the bridge, and so we really get to see how smart and intelligent she is and determined. And so I really do like this episode.
Yeah, that was one thing I always felt was missing from later series of Voyager was there was too much reliance on Janeway as a leader, and that we didn't get to see more of her as Janeway doing her science thing. That was her background that was so much different from all the other captains, was this science experience and science knowledge, and I wish we got to see more of that. So episodes like this really do kind of stand out in the grand scheme of Voyager.
Yes, definitely.
So is there anything else you'd like to say about Resolutions?
No, I think it's a great episode and definitely give it a rewatch.
Yeah, as I say, I certainly enjoyed it on my rewatch. Slightly frustrated, obviously, by the drama aspect, but yeah, I think it was interesting to see what a command style under Tuvok would have been like as well.
Yes.
Do you think that crew under Tuvok would have managed to get back to the Alpha Quadrant?
No. I don't think so.
I think they would have killed themselves
Yes.
before they got out of Vidian space and Kazon space. I think it was quite interesting to see that what we've also kind of lost very, very early on in Voyager was that conflict between the crew that we were all really hoping to see, that we get to see some more of that, and especially with it coming from Harry Kim as well was really quite interesting to see him being the
instigator,
almost the mutineer in a way.
Yes.
Like he's that kind of guy in the classroom that's the quiet dark horse, but really is slowly drawing plans against us.
Yes. Yeah, and I thought that Kes, when she goes into Tuvok, and she sort of took on a Guinan role and just walked right in and told Tuvok how it is, and reminded me of Guinan there.
Yeah, like I think Tuvok needed to be reminded of that in a way that, like there was in the grand scheme of things, it was quite an easy way to get it, that they had this contact in the Vidians that they could use, and it was a bit frustrating that didn't go a bit further. That I would love to have seen more of Pell in future episodes, and I think she was a very interesting character, but unfortunately, like too many Voyager characters, she was to never be seen from again.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go on to our next episode. We go now to the Gamma Quadrant. Dr. Bashir works to rid a planet of a plague that was sent by the Dominion as punishment for resistance. Bashir believes that he can solve this in a week, but reality says no.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the Quickening?
I like it. It's okay. It's neither here nor there for me. It seems a little to the point of, I guess my question is, they got this distress signal that was years old. I can't remember if it says how many years old that signal was.
I can't remember.
So do they really want help? I mean, if I send out a distress signal 5 years ago, do I really need the help now? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I suppose with a kind of a plague like this that's been going on for so long, I guess that kind of long-standing plea for help probably still stands. That I'm the same as you. It's an okay episode. I've probably watched it a couple times at most, mostly because I had the video as a kid because it was with To the Death. So I've never really thought, I've got it on Netflix, let me watch it. I'm going to dust off the DVD and put that in and watch this episode. It's not one that's ever really appealed to me. I think there's some interesting elements in it. I really like that Bashir fails. I like when Starfleet fails, and I think that's quite interesting with this episode here, that at the end of the episode he hasn't solved it in a week. That Federation probably think they can solve any dispute, any sickness in a week. It's good to see sometimes that isn't possible. It reminds you that these people are human and they can fail too.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't understand why Bashir was so... I mean, I guess being a perfectionist, why he would continue to stay. And I mean, I get that he's a doctor and he wants to help, but they've got other things going on, right? The Jem'Hadar, to name one. And so the fact that he's staying, I didn't know why he chose to stay, I guess.
Yeah, for me, I've kind of retconned it in my head that, Bashir really is a perfectionist, and especially someone that's got such advanced skills as we discover next season, that having a problem that he can't solve must be the most frustrating thing in the world. That this guy's a genius and he's got this itch he can't scratch. That what is it about this cure? And I think it would have been interesting as well, perhaps, that the reason that there's such a push for this is this could be the Federation's fate in a few years' time, that the conflict with the Dominion is continuing to boil away and something could happen like this to Earth, Beta Z, any planet, and that he doesn't want to miss this chance to cure it now before it could potentially affect Bajor or anyone else in the future. I also think it was quite interesting that we never hear from this again.
Yeah.
A frustrating thing from Deep Space Nine element, because so many things do come into play again, that it would have been interesting down the line if we did find a cure or this tied into some part of the Dominion War to come. I'm not bothered that it doesn't come up again, but in the grand scheme of things, I expect things like this sometimes to come back up again in Deep Space Nine. Yeah,
definitely. Some kind of reference, or, that the children are now coming and, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely a reminder with all the Klingon War going on that the Dominion are still there in the background and they are ruthless, that things like this are happening in the Gamma Quadrant, and, it's a constant reminder of that threat, that they haven't gone away, that there's still people suffering from the Jem'Hadar and the Dominion, and they really are still on the doorstep. It's definitely bubbling away quite nicely.
Yes. And there was a little fun element with Quark's Bar and all of his advertising that
yes, that's probably the highlight of the episode. We can't let the episode go by without mentioning that. With the mug as well, the studio advertisement. Someone really had a good time with Windows Maker there in the 90s making that advert. It's his proud face as well when he watches the advert and he has a little sing-song. It's a shame we don't have the lyrics here to have a wee little sing-along just to get ourselves in the Friday spirit.
Yes, he was so pleased to see that.
I suppose, like, for Quark, seeing himself up in stars is always a goal in mind. Well, I think that brings the end to this episode. Thank you very much for joining us today, Amy.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we'll be back again tomorrow with Body Parts and Broken Link to finish the amazing Season 4 of Deep Space Nine.